Welcome to the Aaliyah Dream Series.
So, as a society, we became aware Aaliyah passed, which was very devastating. There are a lot of things that came to play as to why that happened. But what did you receive so far as the information regarding the day of her passing? And did R. Kelly want Aaliyah dead?
So, no, to jump right into it, no. But what I did uncover, what was revealed to me, was that there was a lot of anger and jealousy about the way that she was able to basically remove herself from him. I found this out. I didn't even know that Aaliyah's uncle Barry had gone to do an interview with Dr. Oz. Like I said, I wasn't following anything pertaining to Aaliyah. After this dream and I started asking these questions, that's when I started coming across other videos that were talking about stuff that it came out like a year plus years ago. And I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. And so his interview with Dr. Oz confirmed what was revealed and given to me as an answer. He was very, as her uncle expressed, very disruptive. He was still trying to call the shots because basically the feeling was, how dare you just leave me like that, number one, and number two, not try to have anything to do with me and give me credit when I helped put you on, essentially
Right.
was the attitude. Now, I don't think R. Kelly ever came out and said anything like that. But what was shown to me was that's what it was. A lot of people have so many different conspiracies around her death. Some people have said she was set up to be murdered and a bunch of stuff like that. And a lot of people want to tie R. Kelly to it. And like I said, the long and short of it is no, but he definitely did feel some kind of way about her being able to move on without him, which is why, if you notice, all the girls that came after Aaliyah, he made it a point not to have them in connection with their family like Aaliyah was. That meant risking what he had going on. I think it was trying to stop anybody else being able to do what she had done.
And speaking to the conspiracy theorists, those out there that might have, different reasons as to why they feel like this happened, why did Aaliyah have to die? Why did she have to die in the way that she did? What was the point or the purpose of her passing?
I think that was so hard to swallow because I was looking for like the greater good, and it was none of that. The day of the crash, honestly, what was shown to me was it was less of a setup and more of a failure to step up and do the right thing business wise. Like that's ultimately what it came down to. And I felt like I was hearing, y'all are missing it. Y'all are missing it. The crash was not the setup. It was everything surrounding and leading up to the crash that was the setup. It was why her schedule was so crazy, why they were rushing to begin with. And Damon Dash even said this himself. They were trying to spend time together. And she even told him before she got on the plane when she didn't want to go, he said, don't go, then don't get on the flight if you don't like the plane. Her response to him was, well, I got to work. And unfortunately, what came through was that her schedule was so jam-packed on purpose. She was heavily policed in terms of contractual obligations because I do believe that there were some things that were communicated that she wanted to do, that she wanted to leave from. And the executives or the powers that be made sure that she had a million things to do, so she didn't have the free time to go and be with or go and do this or whatever the case may be. That was a true setup because, folks who were running the show wanted to keep her right where she was so that they could keep making that money.
And that makes sense. And unfortunately, a lot of our artists, especially when you're signed to different labels and things of that nature, you lose the ability to be the artist. You're like this laborer now, this worker now that really your creativity is pinched off because you have such a tight schedule. And
Right.
that ebb and flow that you were able to have kind of is not the case. And so I know that she was in a rush, but there was a plane there for her that Hype ended up taking. So why did Hype like end up having to shoot the video, and then how did he end up taking her plane?
So yeah, there have been conspiracies surrounding Hype Williams and his involvement in all of that. And basically, Hype was chosen, he was a suggestion. He was a suggestion by way of a bunch of different people. He was the top videographer at that time in hip hop, and
Mm-hmm.
so it was basically Aaliyah could get some clout and exposure from doing this video with him. It seemed like it would be a good look.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how that ended up coming about. But then when it came time to leave the video shoot, there was again some business stuff that wasn't completely agreed upon and ironed out.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like, from what I saw, what was shown to me, Hype had some stuff that he was kind of doing out of his own pocket or doing more than what he was obligated to.
Okay.
So, you know how like you kind of do stuff for people, but you feel like you doing more than you signed up for or bargained for.
Right.
And you don't feel like you gonna get paid what you're supposed to. So then whenever it comes time for you to get what you can, you gonna take it.
Right.
That is kind of the gist of what that whole taking the plane situation was, I believe. Like, well, I didn't get X, Y, and Z like I was supposed to, so I need to get out of here. I'm gonna take this one.
Okay.
It's
I
pretty
see.
much how it fell.
So if that happened, I mean, and I can see how that can possibly be the case, even though, you know, it wasn't very professional. But if that happened, why did Black Hawk Airlines send her a inferior plane? Like, you had a great plane there, it was taken. Why not replace it with an as adequate plane?
Well, that plane that was brought that Hype took wasn't from the airline company. That was allegedly from Lenny Kravitz. So
Oh,
those planes were not connected.
okay.
And the reason why Black Hawk ended up sending the plane that they did, because again, bad business dealing. So there was
Mm-hmm.
already a plane scheduled for them to leave to take the next day. But because they were trying to leave the day before, there seemed to have been some sort of an argument. Like, you haven't paid us for X, Y, and Z, or you need to pay us for this plane,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can see what we can do. And there was just this clash, and like, well, you already got our money from this plane, and they're
Mm-hmm.
like, but you're asking for a separate one today. And I think that's where the breakdown happened, and Black Hawk eventually was like, okay, we'll send you a plane. And
Right.
then they sent the jankiest one that they had, or maybe it was the only one they had available that day.
Well, that's ridiculous because then you're playing with people's life, and unfortunately, you know, first of all, things are happening ethereally before they are happening here in the 3D. So, if that is your destiny, if that is your fate, there is not much that you can do to remove yourself from what is happening. But if bad business dealings and things of that nature was the case, is that the reason also why the authorities did not vet the plane and make sure everything was done before it left for the runway?
So it's crazy. I was also surprised to find out that they were pressured. Like, they literally fought for them not to leave.
The airlines.
No, not so much the airlines, but the airport authorities.
Okay.
They ended up being the people that were obviously blamed. Well, one of the parties that was blamed for letting the plane go. But they were not in agreement with that plane taking off because they knew that it was not up to code, that it was overweight, that it posed a danger. And they finally gave up and was like, okay, if you want to go, we're not going to stand in your way and argue with you. But they fought for them not to leave.
Oh, wow.
And that's what was crazy to me. Like, okay, they didn't just let these people go. They were trying to tell them this is not safe. And I also think that's why the pilot who was chosen to do the job was who he was, they wasn't going to send their best out there to risk their lives knowing that that plane was potentially going to go down. So they chose somebody who was a scapegoat, who really didn't know, what time it was, who wasn't qualified,
Wow.
who had all of this, bad rap sheet, because they knew.
So who pressured the authorities to allow the plane to go? When you said they felt pressured, who was pressuring them?
It was somebody from Aaliyah's camp. And it could have very well been some of the people that were on that plane. They were trying to uphold certain contractual agreements as well.
Yeah. So, what about the other people on the plane? They were conducting business. They needed to get back also. Did you get anything from the other people that were on the plane also?
Yes, when it came to other people on that plane, because I thought everybody couldn't have certainly been down with this situation.
Mm-hmm.
It was alleged that Aaliyah was sedated before she got on this flight. So even if she wasn't able to coherently make a decision about leaving, there are 7 or 8 other adults on this plane. I know somebody wasn't feeling this, and the truth was that there were mixed emotions. Some people was like, I understand contractual agreements, but not if it's gonna risk our safety.
Right.
It's not that serious.
Right.
But I understand we got to get back to do X, Y, and Z, but I don't know. So ultimately, I would have to say there were definitely people that was like, no, I really don't want to do this. Some people were getting on that plane against their better judgment and against their will. They really didn't want to, but the artist herself is going, what you gonna do? You ain't got no ride to get back outside of her.
Right. And so you just end up becoming, for lack of a better word, a casualty.
Yeah, unfortunately.